This is Karen with newclevelandradio.net. It is time for What in the World with Paul Seaburn, that guy with the beard in the blue shirt, and his sidekick, John DiNallo, who is wearing his Cleveland Brown shirt today.
Cleveland Browns it is, Karen and Paul and audience. Oh, yeah.
It's not football season yet, though.
I know we're getting close to training camp, though, so that's why I decided to break it out today.
Okay. So, what in the world are we talking about today?
I don't know. Why don't you guys talk amongst yourselves there? You're doing fine. I like the fact for all of our podcast listeners who aren't watching us on YouTube, Karen does the little bit of color commentary, how we're all dressed today. Karen, by the way, is dressed in a nice black and white outfit. So there you go. We got everybody's outfit out there for you. Yes, I am Paul Seaburn, the host of What in the World, everybody's favorite weird news podcast. Real news, sometimes strange, always funny. That's our motto. And boy, if you're listening to us in the United States, you want to listen to something funny, not what's on TV last night, today, tomorrow. It's been unbelievable. We're not going to go anywhere near it. Stick with us. We've got strange stories that are fun, funny, full of laughs. We're going to have a good time for the next hour. And by we, I mean me, Paul Seaburn. I'm the host. I am also the editor and head writer at mysteriousuniverse.org. I mentioned that because we've got some paranormal stories here this week that I normally cover on Mysterious Universe as well. So we're going to be talking about all different kinds of weird news. But if you like Bigfoot and the Loch Ness monster, stick around. And UFOs, we've got some stories about those as well. So it's going to be more of a paranormal story today. The first voice that you hear when you turn on What in the World is Karen Hale. She is our producer, co-host, media mogul at newclevelandradio.net, our platform full of podcasts besides What in the World. So once you listen to us, we're on Spotify, we're on YouTube. I'll mention that so that you can see that we really are wearing brown, blue, and black and white. We also have some photos that we like to show that go along with the story. So we try to do our best for all of you who just like to listen to the show. But if you want to see some of the weird things that we talk about, we include some photos as well. Check us out on YouTube. And then check out all the other great podcasts Karen has on newclevelandradio.net. And also check out Yes I Can Coaching with Karen. She has a link for that there and an explanation. That is also our sponsor. So make sure you check all those things out when you go there. Then in ear number 2 is our other co-host, color commentator, host of What in the World of Sports, my old buddy John DiNallo. Hey, John, how you doing today?
Hey, Paul. Hey, Karen and audience. Doing well. It's hot in Cleveland as it is throughout the country here. But everyone's in their air-conditioned home here and ready to deliver a great show.
Absolutely.
Good. Yes, it is. It is pretty hot and humid here. So not as much as in some other areas that we're going to talk about in a minute. So what are we going to talk about today? It's hot in Houston, and I've got a story from Houston. The Loch Ness monster was seen in Houston, Texas. So we're going to be talking about that. Wow, yeah, no kidding. I never saw it while I lived down there, but maybe I did, and I just didn't realize it. A Bigfoot. Yeah, we've got a story about a Bigfoot whisperer. We're gonna learn what Bigfoot whispered to him. Why our future depends on dancing robots. I didn't know this. You're gonna find out why. Aliens are hiding in pubs in England. So if you're listening to us from across the pond, we'll give you some tips on how to spot them. Unbelievable athletic feats in no place else but Cleveland, Ohio. I actually have a sports story instead of John. Well, in addition to John, I should say, this week. So we'll be talking about the really unusual and cool sports going on in Cleveland this week in the heat. And then my favorite story of the week, there's a UFO strip club in, you guessed it, Florida. Of course. We'll find out about that. Maybe I have the address. Who knows? Plus, we got some more odd news. We've got world records. We've got trivia. John's got a great sport for us this week. And then, as always, we play everybody's favorite weird news show, Bluff the Co-host. So let's get right to it. I talked to some of our friends down in Houston, Tex Chick. They're all doing well. The power has come back for all of them as of this weekend. Power was out for a long time. I lived down there for 28 years. Longest that it was out for us was 9 days. It's brutal, absolutely brutal to be in that heat with no air conditioning, no refrigeration. So, our hearts go out to them. I hope they resolve the problems there. But as long as we're talking about Houston, and if you're down there or if you're planning a visit, something to look for, the Loch Ness Monster. Believe it or not, the Loch Ness Monster has actually been sighted in Houston, Texas. The fourth for the Karen is laughing. I posted a photo of it. 4,000 miles from Loch Ness, from Scotland, in Houston, Texas, on a freeway. I'll give you the address of the freeway. It is Cross Timbers and Interstate 45. I used to drive past this spot every single day when I worked downtown. My wife also, the lovely Donna, drove past here, rode the bus past this spot. We never saw the Loch Ness Monster while we were there. Nonetheless, a photo has been circulating on the internet of what people are saying is the Loch Ness Monster at Cross Timbers and I-45. The police actually posted this. The Houston Police Officers Union said, we're pretty sure that the Loch Ness Monster was just spotted in the #1 lane of traffic on I-45 at southbound. Okay. I need to put that in there that's the Gulf Freeway, the North Freeway. I'm sorry, that's the North Freeway, southbound. So you're heading towards downtown. If you want to look for it, if it's still out there. So I put a handy red circle around it in case anybody who's looking at the photo can't see this thing that everyone is saying is a Loch Ness Monster. John, I'll let you identify what the Loch Ness Monster looks like to you.
I'll tell you what, Paul and Karen and audience. I always thought the Loch Ness Monster was larger, had more of a presence. The photos you see of the Loch Ness Monster is pretty imposing, right? It looks like a pretty good sized creature. This creature looks very small. In fact, if you compare it to the autos that are in the picture, it's smaller than a car. So I'm going to really have to cast aspersions on this one, guys. I just don't see that being the Loch Ness.
I don't even think it's a creature, to be honest with you.
Oh, Karen, what do you think it is?
It looks like part of a car seat.
Yeah, I don't think you're too far off on that, Karen.
I don't think so either. I was going to say it's shorter than the cement barrier along the side of the road.
Yeah.
Everybody knows how tall those are. So that is exactly right, Karen. It appears to be a car seat or some sort of seat along the side of the road, but tilted in such a way that people driving fast past it, and in Texas, it's the law to drive fast. They assumed that this was the Loch Ness Monster. I'm guessing it was probably tourists who aren't used to seeing furniture along the side of the road in Texas. Because in my 28 years of living there, I saw furniture along the side of the road all the time. All kinds of things along the side of the road. Things that fell off of trucks, things that people just dragged out there, to sit on and watch the traffic go by. There were even people selling furniture along the side of the road. And I'll mention for our Houston listeners, Mattress Mac, I think that's how he got his start. And the guy is now a billionaire from selling furniture along the side of the road. So that's what I think this is. But you would not believe how many stories I found about the Loch Ness Monster, the baby Loch Ness Monster in Houston, crawling across the freeway. You name it. Take a look yourself. It's I don't know if it restores your faith in mankind or kills your faith in man. One or the other. So anyways, there's our Loch Ness, one Loch Ness Monster. I have another Loch Ness Monster coming up at the end of the show. So we'll kick it off with a Loch Ness Monster story. And you know how we love to talk about local stories. So that was a local story from my past domicile. Now this is a local story from Cleveland, Ohio. The Pan American Masters Athletic Championships are currently underway. They started over the weekend. They're currently underway in Cleveland, Ohio. They are all around the city. So they're using soccer fields and stadiums and pools, and these are people 30 years old and up. So, despite the fact that there are 30-year-old people in the Paris Olympics, like LeBron James, for example, who's, I think he's 40 already, and there's some other people who are in the advanced age for Olympic athletes. These athletes begin at 30. The guy that we're going to talk about is a gentleman by the name of Alan Martin. We're going to salute Alan on our show because Alan is 98 years old. He competed in the 90 to 99-year-old category. He was in the 100-meter dash, believe it or not. And here he is. He was supposed to race against two other people. You can see by the invisible spots, the empty spots on the podium, they saw him and didn't show up. So,
wow.
Yeah, he had to race against the kids, as he puts it, the 80 to 89-year-olds. So he raced against them. So A, he won a gold medal because he was the fastest of the 90 to 99. B, he ran this in 27.85 seconds. 100 meters, 27.85 seconds. Now, I haven't run 100 meters in a while. I know I can't run it in 9 seconds like Usain Bolt and all those people. But I'll tell you what, I probably would be hard pressed to go much faster than 27 seconds. How about you, John? What do you think?
No, I know I would be hard pressed to do it in that amount of time. But hats off to this elderly gentleman here for being able to compete and be able to and to be able to gain a gold medal. So good for him.
Right.
What a story. He started, he wasn't even an athlete in his younger days. He didn't start competing until he was 83 years old. He started in the 2000, he's from New Zealand. He started in the 2009 Sydney World Masters game. So since then, so that's like 15 years, he's won 30 gold medals along with many other medals.
Wow.
30 gold medals. And I want to point this out. The 100 meters is not the only event that he's competing in Cleveland. In addition to the 100 meters, get ready for this. He's running in the 400, the 200, and he's throwing the discus and the javelin.
Wow. Unbelievable.
That's all noteworthy for sure, folks.
Let me tell you, he looks really good. He doesn't look like he's 98 years old. He can actually lift his hands above his head. I know some people our age who can't lift their hands above their heads anymore. So, this is just more power to him. I think that's just great. Okay, let's go to Scotland. Ireland. I'm sorry, Northern Ireland. The Craigie Hill Bonfire Committee in Larne, Northern Ireland, set an unofficial Guinness World Record last week when they built a bonfire tower that is 205 feet 6 inches tall. 205 feet. That's 20 stories tall. A bonfire stack for their annual Orange Order celebration. Now, I know this story made it all around the United States. Every dad who heard this, who has a pit in their backyard, said, "Hold my beer and watch this," and started piling up sticks to see if they could get to John, when I went to high school, we would have a bonfire at homecoming. But this thing, the photo shows them with like a cherry picker or a crane.
A crane.
Yeah. Did you guys have a bonfire when you were in high school?
I think we went to like one or two maybe, but obviously nothing of this scale. I mean, the bonfires we had were, really close to the ground. I don't think anyone had the ambition or the means to create something like this. This is astounding. This is amazing to me.
How about you, Karen? Did you guys have a bonfire?
Yeah, we did, but I think we had like 3 or 4 logs that we, burned. That was about it. Yeah.
I know.
Yeah, sure.
You went to woods, you got logged. Maybe somebody's father had a pallet from getting something delivered, so you broke that up, and that
All
was
right.
about it. So they ignited this thing, and you could see
Oh
it
my
from
God.
Wow.
it started at the top, and it eventually burned completely to the ground. Obviously there were fire officials all around. The only problem, no, they didn't have a problem. I can remember back when we were doing it at my high school. One year we did have a problem, and it had nothing to do with the wood, but we tried to start the fire with old gym socks, and the terrible explosion, terrible smell. It was awful. Um, so this was it. If you go to my Facebook page, I have a video of this as well. And in fact, a comment from someone who was at the bonfire who said how I guess there's no offense. There's not much to do in Northern Ireland these days. So a 205-foot bonfire, I guess, is pretty exciting. So there you go. There you go. 205-foot bonfire. That's unbelievable.
Wow.
Okay. Next story, not a world record, but still very unusual. This one comes from China. Man in China spent a year, one whole year, teaching his pet poodle how to ride a small bicycle, a bicycle from a child, like a 3 or 4 year old child. So an entire year. He the dog is so good. The dog now competes in dog bicycle races like the Tour de Trees. My horn. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah,
So
good.
Thank you.
we've got a beautiful picture of this. Is a poodle, one of those standard size poodles, the big ones, and he really looks like he's pedaling away, and he's got his front paws on the handlebars. He also taught him to ride a skateboard, and there's a picture of him on the skateboard. I think the bicycle is much more impressive than the skateboard. So he says in the write-up that his dog, the Zulafu is the dog's name, rides a bicycle about as well as a 3-year-old, which to me means that he falls over and cries a lot.
Yeah.
I've taught my nieces and also my grandnieces how to ride on a bicycle, and that's what they did. So now Zulafu, because he's gotten such notoriety, he's acquired a bicycle name, rather than his Chinese name. So his cycling name now is Lance Barkstrong. Lance Barkstrong. There we go.
Yep.
All right. John, you got a comment on the cycling dog?
No, but I think that photo to the right is pretty indicative, like you said, Paul, of paws on the handlebars, and looks like his paws are on the pedals as they should be, right? He's got an actual form there, so good for him. Also, the bike has training wheels, which I would gather that would be necessary at this stage of the game.
Yeah,
This
exactly.
dog development, I would think.
He's a dog. Give him a break.
Well, that's what I'm just saying. I mean, the training wheels are there to help him, and eventually maybe he can be on the bike and be like a human, and eventually not have to have the training wheels.
Oh, and give him credit. This guy spent an entire year teaching this poor poodle how to ride a bike, which means every day that poor poodle who heard, "Bad dog, get up. Bad dog, get up. Bad dog, get up." Then once in a while he'd get a cookie. "Good dog, good boy, ride again. Bad dog, you fell down again." Here, I'm surprised he didn't ride away. As soon as he
yeah, you could do that, I think, right? Yeah. Wow.
Okay. Engineers at the University of California in San Diego have trained a humanoid robot how to perform simple dance routines. Why? Because they claim that humanoid robots will work better with humans when they know how to dance. Now, I disagree with this because I go, and John and I and Karen as well, and many of our listeners go back to the days of high school dances. I can remember I resembled a robot when I danced, and none of these One of the other humanoids were impressed with my dance moves. In fact, I have a picture of me dancing. Uh, there we go. I look like the robot lost in space, waving my arms,
There is
saying,
a striking resemblance to that,
Yeah.
Paul. Wow, yeah.
danger, danger, stay away, stay away. Rolling Stones about to be danced. I don't know. So that's what they do. They claim that they're teaching these robots how to dance, and apparently that's supposed to make them more human-like. Um, I don't know. I don't buy that. So anyways, I thought that was an interesting story and a chance to show the old the old robot from Lost in Space. I believe, John, this is a really obscure trivia question, but I believe that the robot had a name other than robot, but and it wasn't Robbie. Robbie was a different robot with the same kind of arms.
Right.
Any on that one?
No, you're right though, Paul and Karen. I mean, that robot did have a name, but unfortunately, it escapes me. Yeah, he did have a name.
Well, we got another space story for you, kind of a space story. Uh, so I was going to use this for Stump the co-host. In fact, the lovely Donna thought that I should use it. A team of researchers at Cornell University have come up with a new design for waste management systems for spacesuits for astronauts that would collect their urine while they're wearing the spacesuit and recycle it into potable water. So they can't drink it, but they could use it to wash their face or yeah, I don't know what else you use potable water for. So they've already got a potential customer, but it's not, believe it or not, it's not an astronaut. It's the rocket man himself, Elton John. Now, why would Elton John want one of these spacesuits that turns your urine into potable water? Because Ryan Sukar, the owner of Sugar Kill's shoe store in Nice, France, said that Sir Elton came into the store with his two sons and a bodyguard. And all of a sudden, Sir Elton needed to go to the bathroom. Well, this shoe store is a shoe store. It's not a bathroom store. It doesn't have a bathroom in it. So the guy politely told Sir Elton that I don't have a bathroom. So he tells the bodyguard, Sir Elton tells the bodyguard to find him a bottle. He finds him a bottle. Sir Elton goes in the corner. Next thing you know, he comes back with a bottle full of a yellow liquid. This is a true story. Honest to God, this is a true story. I think he's already working on a song to go along with the event. Here's the lyrics. I think it's going to be a long, long time till touchdown brings me around to find a bathroom. Or maybe, I think he had a urinary tract infection because he was also singing "Burning Out His Fuse Up Here Alone." So he may have been burning out his fuse while he was filling up that bottle. Now, I know we can say this on YouTube, but the other thing he's going to be writing is a song called "Goodbye Yellow Piss Road."
Oh boy.
Yep.
That's
I was waiting for that.
that is quite a photo there. It's not very flattering. I mean, I don't think it'll endear Elton to people, seeing that. I mean, actually, it's somewhat gross, if I may offer that.
Well, somewhat gross. I agree with that. For those of you who can't see it, the liquid in the bottle is very yellow, which means that Sir Elton is concerned about his health. It looks like he just took a dozen vitamins, and they finally worked their way through his system, and he's now urinating them out, which is what you do when you take vitamins.
And that's a lot of urine in that bottle.
He's a knight. He's a knight, Karen. Knights have to go. That's, I don't know.
Yes, I guess.
Is it possible? Is it possible that urine is not in that bottle and it's something other liquid, Paul? Is that possible?
Whoa.
Oh no. All right, two more songs he's working on. One of them.
I have to interrupt you for a second. I just did some research. Okay. Going back to the robot. Okay.
Oh yeah.
His name was Robot.
His name was Robot. Okay.
Yes.
Really?
Robot,
Okay.
Robot.
Yep.
All right. Okay.
Thank you to our listener who sent that in. Wow, that's great. So there you go. Robot the robot.
Yep.
I kind of like that better than Robbie. So Sir Elton, getting back to Sir Elton, he's working on another song. Here's the lyrics. You know you can't hold me forever, which I think he was talking about the urine in that case. And then I think it's from the same song. Hold me closer, tiny bladder.
Oh,
You got the horn on that one, Paul, hopefully?
Oh, you want a horn for that one?
Yeah, sure.
Hey,
Thank you.
Sir Elton is a billionaire. He can take it. That's all I have to say. Okay.
All right.
We go from outer space to a UFO story. Top story on my Facebook page this week. The 2001 Space Odyssey Strip Club in Tampa, Florida is the only strip club in the world with a flying saucer on the roof. Now, if you're listening to the show, either check us out on YouTube or look for this story online because it has to be seen to be believed. There's the flying saucer. Underneath, there's a sign, late night party open till 4 a.m. So that's how you know it's either a bar or a strip club or both. And it says Odyssey on the side. And I didn't want to put up any of the other more derogatory things that they put on the strip club. And not that I know anything about strip clubs, right? John, you don't know anything about strip clubs, right?
Not that I would care to admit to anyway. Let's put it that way.
That's right. I had to Google all this information. So this is actually, it's not a real flying saucer. It's one of the last of the Futuro houses built in the 1960s. So how did I get there? Oh, okay. So it's on the top of the strip club. They were built to look like flying saucers. So the owner actually has it decked out. He's got a stripper pole up there, which is what we're looking at now inside of it. So you can go up there for private dances. He told the dancers that if don't take dollar bills from guys who are looking a little pale and only have 3 fingers. Because the dancers already are taking advantage of it. The most popular dancer is one by the name of Abby Ductee, who can actually slide up the stripper pole like she's being abducted. So kind of a and William Shatner, if you're listening, you have a lifetime membership waiting for you at the front desk.
I'm sure he'd love that. Yes.
Yeah. So how did it get up there? You might want to know. So shortly after these homes were introduced, let me go back to the home there. The people actually lived in these. On the right-hand side is like a gate that turns into a door. I think it's on the right-hand side. So when they were introduced in the 60s, a mobile home salesman by the name of Jerry DeLong opened Futuro of Florida in the Clearwater area. And they didn't do very well. The company that made them went out of business in 1975. So DeLong was also owned the strip club, and so he put he couldn't sell this last one, so he put it up on top of the strip club, which is where he had it at his dealership where he was selling the homes. And so the UFO was there when Pasquale Matasani, who owned several bars in Tampa, bought the strip club, and he just decided to leave it up there and he decked it out. So what he did say is that the strip club it's a reputable strip club. Unlike on Star Trek, you have to pay the girls to have them cling on you.
Oh.
Okay.
All right. So let's move out of the outer space area. Although our next story might be considered way out there too. We're going to talk about the Kardashians for a second here. So on an episode of the Kardashians, which John, you never missed the Kardashians, am I right?
No, Paul, I think it's just the opposite. I'm sorry to tell everyone. I don't follow the Kardashians at all.
Well, okay, you know who Rob is. Rob is the only male in the group. So
yes, I know who he is. Yes.
He says that aliens exist. He said this on the show. And not only that, there's literally 7 species of space aliens. 7 species of alien, which means that means there's one alien for every Kardashian to do a sex tape with. Because if I'm not mistaken, there's 5 girls, there's Rob, and there's Kris Jenner, the mother. So that's 7 right there. I think here's a picture of an alien watching TV. Aliens do watch the Kardashians, so I think that they obviously may be communicating with little Rob over there. So they claimed, this is the part that I love on the show. They claimed that they were talking about UFOs and space aliens while at dinner, while they're eating dinner. Now, only rich people talk about UFOs and space aliens at dinner. I mean, I've got other things to talk about at dinner, like, where's the bread? You know, are there any more pork chops? I don't really, even in the business that I'm in, I don't talk about UFOs and aliens at dinner. But the Kardashians, they're millionaires. They can talk about it at dinner, I guess. John, I don't think you talk about aliens and
No, I'm very confident in saying that would not be really a table conversation for Annette and I.
the only time I can think of ever wanting to talk about an alien would be if I was making toast and I saw his head burnt into the piece of toast. Then I might.
Yeah.
Now, poor Rob Kardashian, this is the only way he can get any time on the show because everybody tunes in to see his sisters and their big butts. That's the only reason anybody watches the show and find out who they're married to this week and who they did a sex tape with. So poor Rob, he has to talk about UFOs to get any kind of attention. Plus, he has a normal sized butt. So, even poor kid, even if there were girls tuning in to see what kind of butt he had, he's got a normal sized butt. They turn on to something else. Even so, anyways, he's hoping. Maybe he's hoping to get on Dancing with Alien Stars or something. I don't know. Who knows what's going on there? Okay, all right. Another alien story here. This one comes from England. According to a new survey in Great Britain, 1 in 10 people there think their government is covering up the fact that aliens are living in the UK and the government is allowing them to go out in disguise to visit pubs. I think I have a picture of an alien at a pub right here. There you go.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah. So they issued a warning. They said for people going to pubs to beware if somebody sitting next to you asks for 4 fingers of whiskey, but they only have 3 fingers on their hand. Could be an alien. Although, this is probably an Irish alien because I guess everybody else beer at the pubs or ale. How can you tell if the person sitting next to you is an alien? They have all their teeth. That's a British joke from my friends Houston. So what's wrong with aliens at a pub? They seem to be upset that the aliens are at a pub. I think I'd rather see aliens at a pub than at a Mexican restaurant because God only knows what alien farts smell like. Oh, come on, Karen, come on. Believe it or not, the respondees to the poll who believed in aliens the most were members of Generation Z, which are kids age 18 to 26. They're the biggest believers. 15% of them said they believe in aliens, that aliens are on Earth and going to the pub. Baby boomers, only 7% believe that aliens are here, which, I'm a part of that group. And yeah, I feel the same way. We grew up with one Star Trek. Now there's so we believe that there was one kind of alien. There was Spock and there were the Klingons, two kinds of aliens. Now there's whole networks devoted to all the different kinds of Star Trek. Every single one of them has a different alien. There's Star Wars and all the different aliens. So the kids are growing up thinking that there's all kinds of aliens. No joke there. I just thought I'd get on my alien soapbox there. So,
okay. All right.
The city in England, most alien believers is Belfast in the UK. So Ireland, Belfast. So everybody there is I'm sure in the pub. So they're really afraid to be running into aliens. Liverpool. I thought this was interesting. Liverpool. I wonder if the Beatles were aliens or are aliens, the ones that are left. They had that weird, when they started out, they had that weird haircut that nobody else had, which we called
the Beatle cut.
Yeah, the Beatle cut.
Right.
E, they sang about Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. Kind of sounds alien to me. I Am a Walrus sounds kind of alien to me. Um, the
Hey, you have
there,
something here, Paul, with this.
yeah. So for more on aliens and rock stars, here's what you do. Buy my book. What would you say to a naked space alien? Because I have stories about John Lennon and his alien encounter. Let's see, 4 of the Rolling Stones had alien encounters. Jimi Hendrix had an alien encounter. You name it. Rock stars just love talking to aliens, and aliens love talking to rock stars. If you want more information on that, check out What Would You Say to a Naked Space Alien. You can get a link to Amazon on my webpage, paulseaburn.com, or you just go right to Amazon and plug my name into the search, and up it comes, and there you go. So got our mandatory book plug in there though. So let's go right to the Loch Ness Monster there. I'm working on a book on Loch Ness monsters, so get ready. We'll be plugging them in the not too distant future. So here's another one of these famous Loch Ness monster photos. This one will be more to John's liking because it's blurry.
It's true, Paul. Hey, Karen.
This comes from our favorite Loch Ness monster spotter, Ian O'Fadigan, the Irish guy who sits at home 24 hours a day watching the 24/7 Loch Ness monster cam, and he found another one. So he says on July 9th, he saw 2 dark shapes moving in sequence about 100 yards out into the Loch Ness. Now, he assumed at first that it was 2 different monsters, but they moved in sync. So he eventually decided that this was one monster. One end was the head, one end was the tail. 16 to 18 feet long, roughly the size of a 12-seat Ford Transit minibus, according to the British article that I read, which means that maybe Ford may have figured out how to make these transit buses waterproof, and what he was actually looking at was a bus traveling, a tour bus, traveling across the Loch Ness underwater. I don't know. But here's the problem. There's only been, other than these online video things, there's only been one live Loch Ness monster sighting this year. That by live, I mean people standing on the shore on the loch itself. There's only been one. So the local chamber of commerce is terrified. All these people are losing money, the businesses, the hotels. The chamber of commerce is actually down on the shore throwing meat into the water, hoping that the loch, the monsters come up and start showing up so that they can stay in business. So we got the big white circle there, John, so nobody can miss what old Ian thinks is a 16 or 18 foot long Loch Ness monster. He said the head looks like a football. Even the swallows were flying around it. And he said the creature looks slightly anxious. Now, I don't know how he can tell from this photo if it looks anxious, but maybe it's anxious that the birds are flying around. They're going to poop on his head before he can go underwater. I don't know. Can you see a monster or birds or bird poop or anything in this photo, John?
No, Paul, I have to say again, it's another blurry photo, and quite frankly, it could be anything. It could be a log. I mean, there's no distinguishing features, I think, in this photo that indicate that this is the Loch Ness monster. I think he's way off.
I know. John sounds anxious, doesn't he? I mean, if anybody's anxious, John, not the Loch Ness monster. I agree with you 100%. So sorry, Ian. I wouldn't vote for this being a Loch Ness monster sighting. It's certainly something unusual. I can't tell you exactly what it is. Neither can John. But boy, you got to really stretch your imagination to decide that this is the Loch Ness monster.
Absolutely.
All right. Yeah. Now let's move to Bigfoot. So a man in Missouri called KHMOAM on a call-in show and claimed he came face to face with Bigfoot. Not only that, this Bigfoot could talk, and he actually had a conversation with him, which is why he's now being called the Bigfoot Whisperer. The first thing Bigfoot said to him, from what I understand, was, "Mind if I smoke?" Who knew Bigfoot was a cigarette smoker, or maybe he was vaping? I'm not sure. Actually, I'm kidding, John. Bigfoot
I
doesn't.
know. Yeah. I can
Bigfoot
just
doesn't.
assume that, Paul. I can just assume that.
Bigfoot eats edibles. Bigfoot doesn't smoke. So the guy says he told Bigfoot that we don't have to be scared of each other. That was a quote. We don't have to be scared of each other, and we can live in peace. So basically, he was lying to Bigfoot because, I don't think we can live in peace with Bigfoot. And then he told him, he says, I told him I didn't want to hurt him, and I didn't want him to hurt me, which, I think it's too late for that. Here's a picture of Bigfoot talking to him on the phone here. Yeah. I think, or maybe Bigfoot had to take a call in the middle of the conversation. So he says he's talking to Bigfoot and he's telling him, you don't have to hurt me. But then he said it looked like Bigfoot was going to hurt him. But what he didn't do it with his big feet or with his big hand. He did it with infrasound. So he says he hit me with the infrasound and it hit me hard. It made me physically shudder. I don't know if there's a telepathic component to it or not, but what I felt, I could feel go through my entire body. I didn't hear nothing, but it was like anger, fear, hatred, and doom all rolled into one, directed at me. So he was telepathically and infrasoundically blasted by this Bigfoot. I felt that. I felt that blast of anger and hate and doom myself. John, you have too. I know you've sat in the dog pound during a Cleveland Browns Pittsburgh Steelers game, and you could feel that hatred and all that hitting you, couldn't you?
Oh, it definitely, yes, more than once. That's for sure, Paul.
So this guy says so at this point he gets scared. So he goes back into his house. Now, if the Bigfoot can do this to him while he's standing on the porch, I'm sure he could use the same power and blow the door open because it's probably one of those cheap Home Depot doors. Home Depot is not a sponsor, are they?
No, not today.
No, they're not.
Not anymore. So he goes in the house and locks the door. Like if Bigfoot can't see him, he's not going to hurt him. Like he's playing peekaboo with the Bigfoot. I don't think Missouri should be called the show me state anymore because Bigfoot showed this guy what he can do and he runs away. He describes him like he's a nice Bigfoot standing on. Bigfoot brought him a pot of beans or something. I don't know what Bigfoot's holding there. Anyways, so Bigfoot ran away and that was the end of it. Now I do have another photo for you, John. This is from a trail cam. The lady did not want to give the location, but this is from a trail cam out in the woods. Lady's name is Stephanie Wood, coincidentally. She posted this on one of the big Bigfoot website. And she says that tiny little thing over there in the middle is Bigfoot. And there's in the front of it are a couple of deer that must have walked by and they set off the trail cam. So you can see the deer and you can also see Bigfoot. Now, she also was kind enough to magnify Bigfoot for you so you can see what this Bigfoot looked like. I'll ask you, John, what does that Bigfoot look like to you? Describe it for our listeners out there.
Well, actually, it's got this photo shows a creature or something with kind of almost a human face. You can make out a nose, eyes, a mouth, it looks like, and even one ear, but covered completely in hair. So again, that's kind of what it appears to be. This is very much unlike a lot of the Bigfoot photos that I've seen over the years. It's actually pretty clear, as a matter of fact.
It's there's mixed reactions to it. He's got an unusual nose. I like the hair. He's got a widow's peak. You don't see too many Bigfoot with a widow's. For those of you who don't know what a widow's peak is, and you're a baby boomer, that's what Eddie Munster had. That
and the top of his forehead. Yeah,
top of his V-shaped patch of hair. I don't know how I could describe it to a Gen Z person. Karen, you have a son who's not. Well, he's a Gen Y. How would you describe a widow's peak to him?
Something that I hope he would never have.
Oh, good one, Karen. Good one.
That's right. So this Bigfoot, this is covered. He is covered with hair. I assume it's a he. Interesting that the fur goes all the way up to his lips. So you don't see his chin, which is kind of a weird looking thing, and you do see the ears sticking out. A lot of people said that this looks like Chaka from Land of the Lost, which was a television show in the early 2000s. And Chaka was a little creature from another planet. I don't know. I didn't watch Chaka or Land of the Lost, so I'm not sure what it is.
In a way, Paul and Karen, it's unfortunate that this was not really a video instead of a photo. I mean,
Well,
video would have been a lot more convincing, I would think, right?
Unfortunately, the a lot of people said it's a short person in a costume, and it does. You could argue in that way as well. But a lot of people said they looked at it and said, no, it's not a short person in a costume. It's something else. The lady, Ms. Wood, she thinks it's a baby Sasquatch. She thinks, might be hiding in a tunnel in that area of the woods that she doesn't want to reveal. Unfortunately, right before we went on the air, I was looking for some other stories, and I happened to go to a site for another podcast. And the guy who does the same thing I do, goes through looking for unusual stories. Tim is his name. Tim actually found this photo, and it dates back 10 years ago. So this photo has been around a long time.
Wow.
So he doesn't know if the lady was pulling everybody's leg or if she just discovered it or what. But he did point out that they still didn't identify what exactly it was. So it's been around for 10 years. We still don't know if this is a baby Bigfoot or somebody in a Chaka costume, or who knows? It could be John back when he still had more hair. I'm not sure.
Yep.
Oh, I guess anything's possible, I guess.
Did you ever have a widow's peak, John? I'm not gonna, our listeners are gonna figure out you don't have one now. Of course, neither do I. But did you ever have a widow's peak? I don't remember.
I have to say no, unequivocally not. No, I never did. even though growing up, I had a full head of hair, believe it or not.
Full head of hair. We need to find a photo of that, John. One of these days, we'll have a photo of both of us with a full head of hair. All right. Well, if I'm not mistaken, let's see if I have any. Oh, that's right. We've reached the end of our strange stories portion of What in the World, which means it's time for Strange Sports with John DiNallo. Every week, I ask my old pal John. John and I go back to our college days. We're fraternity brothers. John knows all kinds of things about sports. He's a huge sports fan. Every week, I ask him, John, find us a sport that lives up to the motto, real sport, sometimes strange, always funny. And our regular listeners know week after week after week, John comes in with another strange sport. Wait till you hear the one he's got this week. You're not going to believe it. John, take it away. I'll get your photos lined up for you.
Okay. Thanks for the introduction, Paul. Appreciate it. So recently, we have had some sports on One in the World involving foods. And the listener response was so overwhelming that I decided to introduce you to another one. Our sport this week is rutabaga curling. Rutabaga curling. Now, let me explain.
Please.
The rutabaga is a root vegetable that was developed in the 1600s by a Swiss botanist who crossed a turnip with a wild cabbage because, well, why not? Rutabagas are now grown all over the Northern Hemisphere, and that is wherever stews are served. And you know that they're served in a lot of places in the Northern Hemisphere. But specifically in December of 1997, farmers that were cold in an outdoor market in Ithaca, New York, they tried staying warm by sliding rutabagas down the aisles, and that's how this new sport was born. It became so popular that an international rutabaga curling championship was established. It takes place annually at the Ithaca Farmers Market in New York State on the last day of the market season, which is typically the third weekend in December. Now, rules for rutabaga curling were actually developed by an individual by the name of Steve Seaburn, and his title, the High Commissioner of the International Rutabaga Curling Championship. So it is a formal organization, Karen.
Boy, I wonder what the salary is for that job.
Couldn't find it. Sorry, couldn't find it. Now,
all the rutabagas you can eat.
Right. Now, the rule is that only rutabagas are allowed. No turnips, potatoes, or any other kind of root vegetables are allowed. The court that people compete on is drawn within the confines of the market midway by laying down rough wooden planks, and the pitch the contestants need to make is approximately 79 feet away, with a circular target at the far end of the court being the goal. The contestants try to get their rutabagas as close to the target as possible. Now, once a rutabaga has been thrown, it remains on the field of play until all other contestants have rolled. Thrown rutabagas are also subject to being knocked by subsequent rolls. Now, contestants are divided into 3 groups, each competing within themselves. The top 3 finishers in each group then qualify for the championship round. And the top 3 contestants in that round are awarded gold, silver, and bronze medals.
Oh, I bet they're shaped like rutabagas. What do you think?
Well, and in particular, some famous winners include an 8-year-old boy by the name of David Turgaskis. He actually won the gold medal in 2002.
Wow.
In 2005, a team by the name of Team Curlicious, composed of students from Cornell University, had 2 of the top 3 finishers when Kevin Waskalis and Rena Grossman took the gold and silver medals respectively. Now, if you think rutabaga curling is easy, think again. To date, no champion has ever successfully defended his or her title, although 4 contestants have actually medaled twice. So, in closing, rutabaga curling sounds like a sport that could be popular wherever rutabagas are grown. After all, throwing rutabagas beats the heck out of eating them.
Wow, you finally said something I agree with, John. Rutabaga curling, which probably should more likely be called rutabaga throwing, or maybe rutabaga croquet, which sounds like a dessert, maybe. But I wonder how they can tell which rutabaga belongs to which person throwing it, because
that's a great question. I think that there's some kind of marking on the rutabaga. In fact, no, quite frankly, there was a reference that I saw in doing my research referred to rutabaga number 41. And I know that that was the designation for, one of the rutabagas that was in the competition, that was being thrown, if you will. So,
but they even have a sweatshirt for it.
Yeah, in fact, look at that. It's kind of, I don't know, people that are seeing us on YouTube can see that there's a "Hear Me Roll." Is that a sweatshirt, Karen, or is that
a sweatshirt? Yeah, it looks like a sweatshirt. There was some hats and sweatshirts and all kind of stuff. Yeah, hear me roll on a picture of a rutabaga, an international rutabaga curling championship. I tried to find where they put all the trophies to see if how many trophies they give out. The photos showed an awful lot of people there, so it seems like it's a popular.
It is popular in that part of New York. Yes, New York State. Yes.
Yeah. Well, rutabagas grow across the northern hemisphere. I do know that. Obviously, again, I don't think I've ever heard of rutabaga curling. And that's the reason why everybody tunes into John's segment, because he always has a sport that we've never heard of. But then after I think about it for a while, I remember that while we were in college, we did a lot of things that, we certainly, we probably don't remember because beer was consumed at the same time. But B, we probably don't want to talk about anyway. And I looked, John, I looked and I looked and I looked, and I couldn't find rutabaga curling in any of my diaries or photos from when we were in college. And then I figured out why. The reason why is because rutabagas were sacred when we were in college. I don't know if do you remember that? The sacred
Oh, I don't.
rhubarbs?
Well, you have to refresh my memory, please.
It turns out this was at a time when there were a lot of protests against the war, and everybody was saying make love not war and give peace a chance. And there was an organization on campus that was passing out hats that said peace, love, and rutabagas. Here's a photo of one of the hats. So there was a group that was pushing bring peace to the world by eating rutabagas. You don't remember that?
Paul, I really don't now, but it must be true as you said. So, okay.
I think they may have been smoking the rutabagas too. I'm not sure. I don't particularly recall that aroma in the dorm of smoked rutabagas. I'm not sure how it smelled to begin with, but there was even a band that played rutabaga music. Here's one of their albums, the Rutabaga Brothers, Ain't Nothing But the Blues.
Wow.
So then I found out where this whole rutabaga cult started, and it started with Green Acres. Remember the show Green Acres? Karen,
sure, of course.
Yes, absolutely.
It's still on TV now. So there was an episode called the Rutabaga Story, and Oliver Wendell Holmes, who owned the farm, Oliver he was looking for something new to grow on the farm, and he tested the soil and found out that it was perfect for growing rutabaga. So of course he went overboard, and he had more rutabagas than he knew what to do with. So his wife, whose name was John, remember his wife's name?
Sure, Ava Gabor.
What was her name on the show? Her character?
Oh,
I should ask Karen. You probably watch it.
I've forgotten.
It was Lisa Douglas.
Yeah. Okay, Lisa Douglas. Yes. Okay.
She's going to help her husband, so she hires Mr. Haney to bring her a hot air balloon, and she fills the hot air balloon with rutabagas, and then she goes up in the air and she starts throwing them down to the ground. But to make sure everybody knew where they came from, John, she put a label on them: "Eat Hooterville rutabagas." It started this whole trend of eating rutabagas and wow, bringing peace to the world. And if you believe that, I've got some land to sell you down in fact, I've got a strip club with a UFO on the top that I'd be happy.
I think it's in Florida, if I'm not mistaken, right?
All right, that's the end of John's segment, What in the World of Sports, which means it's time for Bluff the Co-host, everybody's favorite weird news show. Let's see if we can get it. There we go.
We are.
All right, we're back to full screen here. So Bluff the Co-host, everybody's favorite weird news show. Oh boy, we get all kind of mail about Bluff the Co-host, how much everybody loves it. Simple game to play. I've got 3 stories similar to the ones we've been telling all afternoon. One big difference, those are real. The stories in Bluff the Co-host may be real, may be a bluff, and it's up to John and Karen and those of you playing at home to decide. Wagering is allowed, so place your bets. John and Karen, put your hands on the buzzer. Let's get right to story number 1. This year's winner of the National Portrait Prize in Australia is a woman who did what every woman and most men have done. She took a washcloth and wiped off her makeup with it and then entered it into the portrait contest. Unlike the rest of you, she entered this self-portrait contest and called it Self-Portrait on Washcloth and won first prize. The washcloth, showing her lipstick imprint, her eyeshadow, and her rouge, is now on display in Australia's National Portrait Gallery, and the artist is spending her $2,000 prize on more makeup, more washcloths, and advertising for her new art business. Okay, so the lady in Australia who wiped her face, her makeup off on a washcloth, looked at it, entered it into a portrait contest, won first prize, and is now in a museum. Real or bluff? Karen, we'll start with you.
It sounds real. Stupid, but real. So I'm going to go with real.
Wow. Okay. So that was 3 things. You said it sounds real, it sounds stupid, and it sounds real stupid.
Yeah.
Is that? Yeah.
There's a progression there, it seems like.
There you go. Still, yeah, it depends on where the space in the comma is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so Karen says it's real. John, how about you?
I'm torn on this one. I can, part of me thinks that it's too outrageous for it to be true. But I think the more I think of it with Karen's idea, that even though it's strange, anything is possible these days. So I'm going to say it's a true story also.
Okay, so John and Karen both say self-portrait on washcloth is a real story. Let's check with the judges, and the judges say congratulations to both of you. Next time you're in Australia, stop by the museum. You can see it on display, or just Google it.
Oh, wow. All right. Congratulations, Karen. Very good.
Yeah.
Very distinct lipstick and eye shadow, yeah, and that you call it rouge or blush. I don't know what you call it, but anyway. Okay, so scores tied 1-1. Let's get right to story number 2. Ooh, tough game today. Many companies are looking for ways to reduce the amount of carbon dioxide in our atmosphere. And one of them in the US is spreading the news about its new invention, a process that turns carbon dioxide into a tasty butter substitute. You can't believe it's CO2, but you can believe it's butter because the process turns the CO2 into a hydrocarbon, which is then mixed with oxygen to make fat, which is then stirred with water and some additives to make you think it's real butter and not just some kind of weird dairy air. While taste testers melted when they tried it, you may want to stick to your regular spread until the price comes down from the upper atmosphere to the land o'lakes. Okay, so engineers have developed a way to turn carbon dioxide into a butter substitute. Coming soon to a store near you. Real or bluff? John, we'll start with you.
Wow, this is another tough one because part of me says it's too irrational or it's too illogical for something to be like this. And part of me says, well, it could be. Scientists are doing things all the time to try and improve our lives. I'm going to say it's a real story. I'm going to say it's true.
Okay, John says, oh boy, John says it's true. Well thought out there, John. Okay, Karen, how about you?
Well, as well thought out as it was, I'm going to disagree and say it's false.
Oh, okay. So it's not real, but still stupid. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so Karen says it's a bluff. John says that butter made out of carbon dioxide is real. Let's check with the judges. The judges are shaking their heads. They said, "Sorry, Karen, that is a real story." John got the right answer.
He's been studying a lot,
Yes, yeah, it's paying off, Karen. Yeah. I have to thank Annette for all the help on that, by the way.
Okay.
John will be first in line for that carbon dioxide butter too, I'll bet. I don't know, if it's low in cholesterol. Okay. All John cares about is the fact that the score is 2-1. That means John is in the lead. But as everyone knows, points are doubled in round number 3. So Karen could come roaring back and steal victory from the judge.
Oh, wow. Yes.
Whatever that saying is. All right. Karen, get ready. John, you get ready. Everybody out there, straight 3. There are more ways to keep bananas fresh than there are bananas in a bunch, but none of them work really well. One that is getting a lot of positive reviews from a TikTok video is the store them in your underwear drawer method. It turns out cotton absorbs the gases which causes bananas to ripen, while being in the dark protects them from the light, which makes them turn brown, and being in the drawer protects them from bruising, which also hastens the process. To keep your tidy whities from smelling like bananas, the video recommends putting an avocado in the drawer with the bananas because they neutralize odors as they ripen. Just to make sure you tell your spouse or your mom before they do the laundry and think that you have gone bananas. Okay, so according to a TikTok video, putting your bananas in your underwear drawer keeps them fresh longer. And if you don't want your bananas, just want your underwear to smell like bananas, put an avocado in there. Karen, we'll start with you. Real or bluff?
Well, even if it's real, I'm not going to do it. And my husband doesn't like avocados. So if I tried putting banana and avocado in the same drawer, he'd go ballistic. So let's say it's false.
Okay, Karen says it's a bluff. John's a big banana fan. We've had this discussion before. So what do you say, John? Real or bluff?
I'm going to say it's real. And I think that I've stumbled across some information about this before or heard a story of this before, if I'm not mistaken. And it might have even been on our show, but I don't know for certain. But I'm thinking that I harken back to that. And for that reason, I'm going to say it's a true story.
Wow. Okay. So John says that the bananas in your underwear is it's a true story. Karen says it's a bluff. Let's check with the judges. And the judges say this time we've got bad news for John. That is a bluff.
Oh,
However, we'll give you half a point. That still doesn't put you in the lead, but we'll give you half a point because we did do a story on Bluff the co-host was once about bananas and underwear. That was also a bluff. So
okay. All right. Okay. Well, I had the wrong answer, but I did have the memory anyway. So
there you go. There you go. So 3 to 2.5. Boy, almost. John it came so close to winning there, but this week's the victory goes to Karen. So John will be studying over the weekend.
Yes, he will.
Yes, we will.
Yep.
Congratulations, Karen. Very good.
And that means, and congratulations to any of you out there. A lot of our listeners say all the time that they get all 3 of them right. So they must really play. They've got the same flashcards as John, do the research, read my Facebook page, all those things. Good for you. I wish we could send you the same prize that we send Karen and John, but unfortunately, postage is outrageous. Anyways, that means we've reached the end of another episode of What in the World. I want to thank Karen Hale, our producer, co-host, media mogul at newclevelandradio.net, our platform. Karen, as always, thank you for everything that you do for our show and for all the podcasts, all the great podcasts on newclevelandradio.net. Please go visit the website, download us, download Karen's great podcast, check out Yes I Can Coaching with Karen. That's it all day. Your whole day is taken up right there. If you're looking for something to do, yeah. If you need coaching, Karen is the person to see. Also, I want to thank my old friend and our sports guy, color commentator, John DiNallo. John, great sport this week. Thanks again for being the expert eyewitness on all of our photos.
Oh, you're welcome, Paul and Karen, and another good show. And next week, I'll try to come back and see if I might be able to win Bluff the co-host, which is always a goal.
Absolutely.
His goal, that's right. And as always, we want to thank all of our listeners, whether you're listening on while you're exercising, if you're watching us on YouTube, if you're watching us live, no matter how you listen to What in the World, we want to thank you from the bottoms of our heart. We do this show for one reason, with 2 reasons. One, we have fun doing it, but we really hope that you have as much fun listening as we do doing it. That's why we come back every week at 3:30 Eastern Daylight Time on Tuesdays. I think we'll be back at that time next week, as far as I know. Check my Facebook page. I always give updates if you need them. And on that note, I think we're going to go back out into the heat of Northeast Ohio. Hopefully it's cooler wherever you are. Good luck to all the people down in Houston. Hope you get the rest of you get your power back. And we'll see you next